Okay guys, and welcome back to the Digital Artcast. Today we have a special episode. I've replaced my co-host Colin Searle, who is probably sleeping at this point in Canada time, but I have replaced him with another great artist, Mr Titus Lunter.
Hi guys.
Titus has been kind enough to give up his time to talk to us today and go through more general concept art talk and digital art talk that we do every week on this podcast. Again, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud and iTunes, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. Got more interviews and more great things coming up. So obviously you know all about me. My name's Gordon. I am studying concept artists at the moment, looking to enter the entertainment industry at one point in my life. But if anybody doesn't know who Titus is, I'm sure there are plenty of people who do. But if they don't, Titus, just a quick background on who you are and what you do.
All right. So I've been a concept artist and illustrator for about 6 years now. I started in 2010 with my first job and my internship in 2009. That's kind of where it got rolling. So I've kind of been around the business for a while. I've worked on titles like Forza Horizon, Division, Killzone. I worked for Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, so a lot of Wizard stuff. Then a whole bunch of side projects, smaller games, obscure games like Never Dead, some stuff for Sniper Elite. So it's kind of like a few titles here and there, and that's basically it. So I come from a background where I used to do Art Academy for a few years, so people often kind of wonder, like, oh, did you do Art Academy and is it worth it? We can talk about that later, but I did a few years of that. Then I switched to game design, which in theory was a pretty good school, but didn't really have a lot of like concept arts. It didn't really prepare me that much for the concept art life. But I graduated from that in 2010 and kind of like never looked back.
Yeah, great, awesome. And of course, with some of your projects you've had, have you found over the years that you preferred working in more games-based art, or has the fantasy stuff for Magic been something that has been a bigger passion? Because I mean, obviously I know for you from some projects you've worked on, stuff like the Division for Ubisoft and that, but I think a lot of people probably know you more from Magic. Is that more your kind of bread and butter kind of thing?
It definitely is now. The thing is that illustration is very rewarding because it's much more a challenge of your own kind of vision, directly visual. So
Yep.
the thing is, concept art is really great because it challenges you to problem solve a lot.
Yep.
Right? And the way my career has gone is that I started with just generic environment concept art, and then I got a little bit more specialized. And it came to the point where especially at the Division, I was so much involved in translating concept art into 3D. So because games are getting bigger and bigger, right? It's not so much, oh, you draw an image and the people can make it, because there's too much stuff to make. So what happens is that there are very large gaps in between the areas that have been concepted and the areas that need to be done in 3D, but there's no time to concept them. So how do you instruct the 3D guys to do the right thing to make sure that they do it? Because some of them are artists and they're really, really good, like artists in the actual sense of the word.
Yep.
And others of them, they don't really like that stuff. They just want to make the images that they're provided. So at that point, the job becomes very technical because you're talking about them, you're talking about how to reuse assets, and that's another really big chunk of what concept art is. So it's cool because it's problem solving, but from that kind of pure nitty gritty artistic point of view, there's not a whole lot for you to put in there because it's all red pen quick line sketches and stuff like, oh, this needs to go there, etc. So Magic in that sense is way different because they just come up with a brief and it's all about how you as an artist can express yourself into doing that, and the growth is just way different because I started out like really realistic with all this photo bashing kind of stuff, and within like a year of me almost doing this full time, it's just switched to only illustration, like just hand paint, hand draw. So I think they're two completely different they evolved into two different things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's it's a huge thing as well, as especially for me. I think when I first started learning about concept, is that the finished illustration stuff that I was seeing as a fan in art books that you would get with the game, those finished illustrations that go out to the public aren't actually concept art, and I think that's the thing that probably people don't understand, which kind of feeds into our main topic, is that the real realities of concept art is trying to convey an idea in the quickest way possible, and
Yeah.
that's. I mean, could you talk about that for a second, just about what you probably find with people talking about concept and what the actual realities of working as a concept artist are?
Yeah, so exactly the thing that you just said, right? The images that you often see, they're not actual concept art. I mean, you might call it concept illustration or whatever, but the
Mm-hmm.
bottom line is that those are marketing images. And even if some of those images would be made during actual production, it would only be a handful.
Yeah.
So the actual reality of concept art is that your job is to problem solve. That's it. You're not there to make pretty pictures. It doesn't really matter if you can make pretty pictures. It's a bonus.
Yeah.
And studios have gotten quite spoiled with good artists, so it has gone from being a bonus to being required that you make pretty images. But
Yeah.
your key role is that you get a problem from any department. All right, this is not just make a house or whatever. You could get a problem from the audio department, from game design, from narrative, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Any department in the whole studio, you have to identify what exactly it is that they're looking for, because if they knew what they were looking for, they wouldn't be asking you, right?
Yeah.
So you have to identify, okay, so what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Who is this actually for, and what does this need to convey? Because if you answer those questions 9 out of 10 times, it's not about making a pretty image. It's about oh shit, yeah, how high does this door need to be? Oh, let's talk to animation, and let's talk to, can we actually have an animation that opens the door? Do these need to be sliding doors? That kind of stuff. So you go really, really deep.
Mm-hmm.
And when people make a portfolio, what they show is, I can be a good painter, but what they need to show is, I can solve problems. And that's what I'm looking for. People ask me, like, what do I need to have in a portfolio? Cool images? No. Show me 10 ways how you solve a door problem. That's the kind of stuff that's interesting. Show me a concept that you've done for the audio guys.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That
Yeah.
real, the head breaker kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, because I will definitely be coming to talk about problem solving, because I mean, from start to finish, when you build a game, the whole team is solving problems at every step of the way. And I think people always say, when you get to an art department, your job is, like you said, not to solve problems, it's to make pretty pictures, but you're even more involved in that process than some of the 3D design guys or even the audio engineers. You're trying to make the game playable for an audience. And I take it, when you're working in concept, what's the kind of, I would say, I mean, it's hard to probably pin down in every studio, because every single studio is different, but what's an average day for a concept artist? I mean, you're kind of 9 to 5 when you come in. Do you paint all day, or do you talk with teams? Do you have meetings? Do you have kind of, as we used to call them, stand-ups? I mean, yeah, what's the kind of things that you guys do kind of day to day?
That's an interesting thing, interesting question, because it depends on a whole bunch of different things. First off, it depends on what phase of the project that you're in. Usually the pretty pictures, they're made during the pre-production phase, and then you can kind of just come in, sit down. What's my brief again? Maybe you have 2-3 days for one image. Because at that point, you're still trying to sell the team on this new vision, right? You're trying to get people excited. So you have this window.
Yeah.
If you're unlucky, studios skip this. It's very unwise, but for a whole host of reasons. But then you can just come in and do your thing.
Yeah.
And then when you move into production, all that stuff is done because people know what the game is going to look like. And depending on your lead, because the lead will distribute tasks.
Yep.
You come in into the morning and you look at the Scrum board, and the Scrum board is basically just a list. Usually we just use Post-its on a wall with all the tasks. And you just grab a Post-it, you put it in your box, and look, I'm working on this, and then you can move it through in progress, up for review, whatever.
Yep.
And then everything is about being as independent as possible. This kind of separates the juniors from the seniors, right? The juniors will wait for a meeting because you're new at the job, you're kind of insecure, like, oh, can I run with this idea? And the seniors, which is like really where concept artists need to be at, is they look at the task from the Scrum board and go like, I don't know exactly what I need to do or how this level looks. I'm going to talk to the 3D guys, and then you walk over. So at that point, your job and your day becomes much more about talking to people. So I at the end, especially what I just talked about before, is I had a much more kind of, it's not exactly a managerial role, but sort of a guiding role.
Yeah.
80% of my day was just talking to people.
Yeah.
And yeah, the painting part, then you see that the painting part is just a way to solve a problem, and solving a problem is actually the bulk of your daily task. So, however way you need to get that done, it's mostly that. So you're just talking to people, sitting down, figuring stuff out.
Yeah. And again, with the concept stuff, obviously, you've got your tasks when it comes to painting illustrations. To obviously initially you're selling the game to producers, then after that you're selling the game to the ADs, and you're trying to get the vision obviously right for the actual project. But do you find that it depends on guys I've spoken to in the industry before, where there's some guys who work for maybe 2 or 3 months and they move on to 3D, or 2 or 3 months and then they move on to another project. Do you find that with your concepting or what you've worked in so far, you are kind of a part of the process all the way through the project, or do you only stay on for so long and then move to the next thing that comes across?
Well, I've had a bit of a weird career because I've changed jobs like 8 or 9 times within 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
I usually go where people like want me. Like I've had the good fortune of working in a on a project, and then people would headhunt me, and I would go away. That's kind of one of the humble brags that I get to have, where I say that I never looked for a job.
Yeah.
As soon as I got into the industry, it kind of took off by itself. Well, not really. It was after my breakthrough for Killzone, right, in
Right.
2011 that it started. But I think there's a whole bunch of benefits going the whole way through the project. You really do get that sense that it's your baby, but it depends on the art directors as well, because if you have a really good art direction team, where people listen and the creative direction is as you want, sticking through the whole project is really rewarding. But
Yeah.
if you're in a project where there's so many iterations that you start off with this, let's say, super elaborate diamond necklace that you've designed, and you end up with a cube of coal.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels. Then you're like, well, I mean, then following that whole process through 3 years becomes this mind-numbing drag, which is really painful.
Yeah.
And I think for concept artists, it's that problem is always extremely apparent, because there's such a quick visual feedback. You draw something that you're into, and you're used to the fact that, okay, we're here to solve problems, so iteration is key. Maybe 5 iterations, maybe 10 iterations. But when you hit that 20th, 30th, 40th iteration on one area, you go like, oh,
Yeah.
please, I'm done with this. Please just accept it and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and I can definitely understand. I mean, again, I'm coming from a background where I have still yet to qualify and work in an industry, but it's a common theme. You do hear a lot of professionals where I think a lot of guys either go 2 ways. They either want to jump from project to project, or they stay in a studio, most of their life. I know one of my friends who works across in Edinburgh, close to me, in Rockstar North. He's been there since, he's been around the bricks. He's been there since they made the first Grand Theft Auto, and he's obviously just one of the guys that helped ship 5. So, and he's happy. He's got his 9 to 5. He loves the job. But then obviously a lot of guys would just do one project with GTA, then move on to either going to America or a bigger studio, because having a AAA game under your belt is something that can push you on. And obviously now you've went from concept and full time in games and no movies, but game. Actually, have you worked in any movies, Titus?
I haven't worked. I had the opportunity to work on a few really big movies, but we couldn't get the contract sorted the way that I wanted to. So I was like, I'm sorry,
Right. Oh, well.
Because I know that working on movies is stressful, because I have worked on a few movies, local Danish ones, and
All right.
I've actually worked on a Bollywood movie, which was
fantastic. Yeah, great.
It was really kind of a really pleasant culture shock, but it's mostly
something different from doing magic cards, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously, when you're working on different stuff, you've worked, like you said, at all these studios. You're still working with Magic, is that right? You're still doing stuff for them, but now you have moved on to this thing called Project Discovery, which obviously has taken up most of your time. And obviously, I'm very new to this. I've read obviously the blogs you've been posting, but what's your purpose with this project? Are you stepping away from games or Magic a bit more, and you want to focus on this, or is this just something that you're pushing a bit more because you want to express yourself as an artist or a person more?
So a big thing for me, which I realized I wanted to do, first off, I want to do Project Discovery for a few years now, because I think it's important for people to share, because I come from a time, say, the late kind of like the late teens, right? Like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
That's when I got interested, and I started painting in 2008. So I haven't been painting for a very long time, but people weren't really sharing, and we kind of the trend that I saw happening was people were extremely closed. Then they started sharing basic resources, very basic resources, and people got better.
Yeah.
So then people started sharing their brushes, okay, and the quality of the work went up. And then people started sharing tutorials, and the quality of the work went up. And you can see this growing trend of people getting better and better and better.
Yep.
The only thing that we're not sharing is like all the information that goes behind it, like the shitty days that we're having, the struggle that we're having,
Yeah.
methods that we tried and haven't worked. And I think if we start doing that, people will get better still. And the bonus for that is people will not only get better, but you take some of that edge off, right? The thing is when they say like, oh, you need to, if you make people more human, then compassion becomes easier, right?
Yeah.
And we live in this digital age where compassion is becoming increasingly tricky.
Yeah.
And we have a small enough community and group that I think if we truly get to know each other, we can kind of deal with each other in friendlier ways. So that's kind of like the reason behind Project Discovery, and why I never knew how to properly set it up. And obviously, like writing the blog as well, it's kind of in the dying age of blogs because I don't think people do it anymore. But
yeah.
The original idea was this coffee table book that was meant for parents that didn't support their kid who wanted to be an artist. Right? So the kid just give the book to their parents and go like, "Here, read it.
Yeah.
You'll see what we're going through."
You need to send me a copy from my parents.
But a blog will have to do for now. So I'm mainly trying to do that, and the reason why I started now is because I kind of got sick and tired of the games because they're it's a high stress environment. It's very very specialized, and I was chasing that AAA goal for a while, and then I found myself after I quit the division in a whole bunch of interviews for big AAA studios, for senior roles, for assistant roles, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, oh man, this is pretty cool, because you see the salaries just go sky high, and the projects, everyone knows them. And it wasn't until I saw a trailer for a game, I won't go into details, and it was this extremely, extremely generic game, and I was interviewing with the people at the time, and I just, you know what? There has got to be more to life than making generic games for these angry, shouting teenagers. And I was like, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do it. I want to be happy as a artist, which means I have to then try to be an artist. And I don't know what that means yet. I have no clue. But Project Discovery and doing illustrations for Magic is my way of trying to figure that out. Maybe I'll return back to games when I've realized that there's no money in this. I'll be very poor. I'm going to have to go back to the thing that I'm actually good at. But for now, I think it's important to not forget that we have a very finite amount of time on this planet, and truly figuring out what you love to do is extremely important. If that is making AAA games, then for sure stick with it. But I've done that for years, and I'm like, yeah, that's not for me. I don't know what is. So let's figure it out.
It's mostly trying to find yourself, just your own self-expression, I think. And a little background on me. Obviously, this interview is not about me; it's about you. But I was 25 years old when I left my job as an engineer to go back to art school. And across the UK, engineering jobs are highly paid. They're quite not easy to do, but you can just go in, do your 9 to 5 and go home. There's no any worry, not a lot of studying, but I wanted more from life. So here I am, 4 or 5 years later, about to qualify my degree, and loving it. You know what I mean? And I definitely think I agree with you. I totally, me and you are on the same wavelength. As I left my job and wanted to do something more with my life because I wanted to be happy. I didn't want to be rich. I wanted to be rich in life. And so, here I am. So, I definitely think I've seen that more and more. The more interviews I've listened to, the more people I've spoke to, people leaving their jobs or changing their careers, and it's always been to art, to do something like this, and they've always came from a job where they thought it would be safe and secure. But I've seen guys in my industry before being laid off and been struggling for work, and no job is safe now. And I think if you're going to work somewhere and fail at it, you might as well do something you enjoy.
Yeah.
So definitely I'd offer.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we talked about your projects you've worked on, games, a couple of movies here and there, and things you've done in between. But obviously, your biggest, I wouldn't say honor, but your biggest time allotted to illustration is Wizards stuff, which obviously spreads from not only Magic but like say D&D stuff.
Mm.
Can you talk about your kind of Magic career and how you got into Magic, and how that's kind of came about? Just like an introduction.
I mean, magic is always I think the most fun thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Definitely for me, because I've
Seems
been
to, it
playing.
seems to be the dream job anyway.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just such a fun story slash experience for most people that I talk to, which is just really cool because um, my longtime friend Robin, who's a co-writer on Project Discovery,
Hmm.
he's been playing Magic since '96, and
Wow.
we got into the same school together in 2006. So that's a decade after he started playing,
Yeah.
and we didn't really become friends until sort of like after we graduated. So we sort of hung out until 2006, 2010, a little bit. And then after we graduated, or I graduated in 2010, had a job in the UK for 6 months. That all kind of failed. I had to go back because of my dad. Um, and I was kind of stuck in my hometown, and he was there, and a couple of my other friends were there. Me and my girlfriend, and then decided, oh, we'll just do a little project together, right? We're going to try to make a little demo. That hilariously failed, but in the downtime, we started playing Magic. He introduced us to the game of Magic. So this was back in the end of 2010, started 2011.
Yep.
And this was a whole bunch of fun. So while we're working on this miserably failing project, we started playing Magic, and he was like, "You know what? You should try to apply." And I was extremely cocky back then, like top of the world. Someone just get rid of this guy, kind of cocky. So I thought, oh, it's fine. I'll just send in my portfolio and get some work. And it took 3 years of me applying
Wow.
a couple times a year. I think every 2 or 3 months I would send something in to an email, which I'm not even sure they use anymore, but that's fine. Um, and all the while just playing games. And I moved to the UK again, and at the end of 2013, just weeks after applying again, you know, getting kind of demotivated, but just keep going.
Yeah.
I got the email from one of the ADs, and like, I'm an art director for a game called Magic the Gathering. I'm not sure if you heard of us, but we'd like you to do some cards, which was just a stroke of good luck for me because clearly they hadn't seen any of my stuff that I'd sent in, but they somehow found my portfolio, and ever since that, they've been really great at challenging. And I think this is why everybody loves Wizards, is because they know artists extremely well.
Hmm.
They won't art direct you too much in nitty gritty stuff. The
Yeah.
only way they will art direct you is to make sure that the thing that you are trying to do reads well on the card. So they
Yep.
give you a brief, and you make your version of it, and they try to guide you in the right direction.
Hmm.
Very minimal, very hands-on, but they do try to challenge you all the time. So it's kind of like the perfect client in so many ways. The briefs are fun. The people there are just painfully good at what they do, painting and giving feedback. And then the game is fun as well. Like I play the game, I follow the game. I'm watching. This is Pro Tour weekend right now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm watching the Pro Tour. So it's this fun little world where you can just get completely immersed and lost in, and it's a legit thing to do as well.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the fun part of it all.
And
So
and is that on the floor? You going to say something, sir?
no, sorry, no.
No, no. And I take it, obviously, I've actually watched a kind of making of thing that somebody done on Gumroad, where they had an experience of going into Wizards, I think in Washington, and working there for like a period where they were releasing a new set. Have you ever worked in the headquarters as well as remote?
Yeah, I have. I was extremely fortunate that they were world building, and landscapes do not rank very highly with Wizards. Legitimately so, because their core message is, this is about planeswalkers and creatures
Yeah.
fighting each other,
Hmm.
fighting in the world. And they were doing it from scratch. They knew that I had an extensive history with world building and that kind of stuff. So they invited me over, and it was the most intense 3 weeks of my life. I was jet lagged out of my mind because yeah, they're in the state of Washington. They're based in Seattle.
Yeah.
Uh, it's where I started drinking coffee. I didn't drink coffee before, but I was up every morning at about 5:30, and I was like, I don't know what to do.
Wow.
So I just went into work. So I got at the office around 6 or 6:30,
Uh-huh.
and then you're expected to do the whole day, which ends at about 6.
Wow.
So you're there for 12 hours, and then the other guys, because you're in a hotel, right? You're in a hotel next to the building. You don't have a lot to do because they're in Renton. There's not a lot to do.
Yeah.
So during the week, you go like, oh, might as well just stay a little longer and work, and then you're there until 8 or 9 in the evening.
Oh God.
Trying to do the absolute best thing you can. And everything goes up on this big wall. You print everything out at the end of the day, it goes up on the big wall, and then people are scribbling on it, and taking things down and rearranging it.
Yeah.
It's this this pressure cooker of creativity, and basically, as a fan of the game, when you walk into the building, you see all the cool cards framed and the uncut sheets. It makes you. I've never had that kind of sense of wanting to do my best as much as when I was there. I think that's kind of a rare thing. You walk into the studio, Ubisoft or whatever thing, and you're like, oh, you're working on a $150 million game, but it's cool, but for me, that was really it. That opportunity of being in-house for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed I get to go back again. It's only a group of 5. They have 5 people, and there's so many good people in the area. It was to bring this lonely nerd out from Europe for me was a dream come true. So, but that's kind of like I think one of the biggest payoffs of working as much, in a still very young kind of career.
Yeah.
But that's it really. I don't know what else kind of to talk about it, other than it just feels like me saying, oh, this is so awesome.
I mean, especially with stuff like Project Discovery, that's a passion project for you because it's close to your heart. Do you feel that Magic is the same? Like it's a piece of you. It's something that you are more invested in. With like you talk about the $150 million games, which is incredible, and people would give their right arm to work on. But for you, is the Magic stuff really what drives you?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's obviously very personal. I know plenty of people who are super happy in AAA. It's like where they belong.
Yeah.
And I thought that's where I belong too, because I always envisioned. This is the thing, right? I was when I was still in school and studying, I always envisioned myself giving a talk at these big events, talking about the concept art that I did for this new huge game, and that's what I was chasing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sobering experience. Like not even too long ago, like a year ago, and I realized that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I always had a big passion for the Wizard stuff. And then when I asked for more work and more briefs, and we started working closer together, and I got to know the people better, it really started to gel. So then I realized, like, oh, hey, actually, this is what I'm passionate about. Wizards has been around, or Magic has been around for decades, so like 93, and I'd like to be a part of it for even longer than that, because all the people that I know, all the old school artists, the new school artists, going to events, Grand Prix, talking, it is funny because I've never seen such a close-knitted yet niche group within any industry. That's kind of like what makes it special for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you're just on the cusp, the start of your career. I mean, when I speak to guys, I know like John Avon, he's been doing it for 20, 30 years, and he says that it's he just does Magic because he's been so overtaken with the work and he loves it so much. And I think that's why I think people, like you say, want to get on board with Magic, because the ADs are great, the industry's great, the projects are invigorating, and I mean, just kind of like as we're wrapping up here, Titus, I mean, you always talk about, especially in stuff like Project Discovery, a motivation to keep going. And I mean, you could probably say for you personally, or just in a general sense, but with motivation, what really is that? What do you feel that is it that pushes you, or should push artists to go further in their work?
at the end of the day, you only have an X amount of years on this planet, like I said before.
Mm.
And when you're young, you don't really think about it or have to think about it because it's kind of a depressing thing. But I think definitely within that line of thought is buried the thing that motivates you, right?
Yeah,
Whether it is to be remembered forever or whether it is to just have fun in the moment or anything in between.
yeah,
Um, I think looking for that by doing lots of different things is where you'll find your artistic drive. For me, it used to be problem solving, and now it is trying to express yourself. For me, I mean, this is kind of like the sort of touchy feely kind of quasi philosophical stuff that
yeah,
artists get to rant about because that's just what we do, I guess. But
yep,
in a world where there's so much kind of superficial stuff
hmm,
with social media, there's so much fake lives being led, more so than it used to be. I think,
mm,
um, combined with all the terrible world news there is, it's very easy to completely lose any sense of self and identity in there.
yeah,
Um, and I think, and I think that artistic expression is a very kind of humble way of trying to figure out who you are,
hmm,
uh, and in the end, whether it's you trying to take your experiences from life and channel them into art to make you a better artist, or whether your search to be a better artist makes you a more all-around person and makes you more pleasant to be around for everyone else.
yeah,
I think that's a really fun thing to figure out, because if I, through my drive to try and be a good artist because I really want to express myself and get to know myself, makes me more pleasant and interesting to be around for other people,
yeah,
and I can make them a little happier,
hmm,
then it doesn't matter what project that's for, or if my work has any legacy whatsoever. Um, then it's all about just sharing that right now,
yeah,
right? And giving people something fun right now, and me holding my illustrations right now, and then everything after that or before and whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. So that
yeah,
that's my motivation to continue. It's no longer. It used to be this, my name needs to be in lights and on the cover of every single AAA game ever. It needs to be, me who's doing that. And
yeah.
that's completely shifting. Like, that's no. I don't need any of that.
Yeah,
No, none of that. It's just
yeah.
having a good time, having a drink, and drawing or painting. That's all.
Yeah, and it's like you talked about earlier. It's happiness. It's being rich in life, not in possessions. And
Exactly.
yeah, definitely. And again, I can feel your pain because I think you recently turned 30, Titus. So
Yeah.
you were talking about that, and I share your pain because on August this year actually I'm turning 31. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's I definitely feel the struggle is real. I think you get to this point in your life, and it's like you said, you reevaluate your goals. You
Mm.
want to try and see where you want to be in 10 years, and you
Yeah,
realize
yeah,
sometimes where you are just now isn't exactly where you want to be, so you shift the goalposts.
yeah.
Um,
And it's really cool that you shifted as well. I mean, it's not easy, and I would encourage everyone listening here to really think hard whether you're happy what you're doing now, because I think it's totally worth it for
yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Especially once you reach, I guess, maybe the 30 age where it kicks in more, where you realize that money isn't that like important. Well, you need enough to live,
To live,
obviously, but
yeah, and to buy
but
magic cards, obviously.
yeah, yeah, right, exactly. But choosing that paycheck in order to buy a better house or a car, that's not
Yeah,
that's not what it would be. It would be a shame if you live your life for the bigger part that way and then realize that shit, I actually wanted to do
yep.
something else.
Yeah, we've even across here, obviously in the oil industry in Scotland, we feel that there's a couple of guys I know personally who work there, and their wages are astronomical. They're on
Mm.
crazy money, but even with the big house and the car, the guys I speak to, they're still are passionate sports players or musicians, and they want to get out and do their passion project, but they want to they've got to stay and pay the bills now. They have a house, but
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't want to get caught in that trap, and I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing now. So
yeah, absolutely.
a lot of hard work, and it's obviously it takes a lot of your time, like you said, but worth it in the end. The end goal, justifies what you're doing now. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I mean that's us so far, Titus. Where can people find you? Where do you want people to look? Where is your online presence found?
I'm trying to be less active on social media, but if you want, people can follow me on Twitter. It's just at Titus Lunter, just my name. And then every Friday at around noonish, European times, there's new project discovery. So that's project-discovery.com. I'm not sure what the other site is, but it was taken. So yeah, project-discovery, where I talk about all sorts of stuff. And that's really it. And people are free to ask me any question if we missed anything here.
Yeah.
Feel free to shoot me a message.
Yeah, definitely. And again, guys, we're here on Digital Artcast. Make sure to check back. Colin will be joining me in the next couple of weeks, back on track, and we'll have more guests coming up. But I just want to take a couple of minutes to thank Titus for giving up his Saturday afternoon. A few time differences in between, we've managed to get here. And good luck to you in the future. Obviously, I have you on Facebook, so I'll be speaking to you on and off. But again, I would encourage people, if you do have any questions directed towards Titus, you can also find him at his social medias, and I'm sure he'll take all the time to speak to you. He's a very nice guy, especially for speaking to us today. And thank you very much, Titus, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you.